So just a bit about us and a history about myself. So I started off in Duke Washwater as PMO. Went to Lloyds Banker Group as a project practitioner, project manager, and then was in Babcock for 5 years and ended up being the head of projects and governance for Babcock International Group. Company's House then was where we really started. Icotech as a consultant heading up the P3 department, and now Icotech today has grown to an organisation of which these are our key customers. But we also work with others customers like Betty's and Taylor's, who manufacture Yorkshire tea, which is great. Oxford City Council as well, a number of pharmaceutical companies. So it's a wide range of customers, not just these four, but these are some of our key accounts really that we work with more closely, I think is fair to say. So yeah, just a bit about our approach and just the way we operate. Part of these webinars is to give value back and to collaborate and to share what we know, I guess. And I'm making it a conscious effort to do one of these a week. At the moment, it's predominantly me doing them because I guess I'm the only one that's not doing, project work. But in the future, you'll see a shift towards more of the technical team doing these sessions, and an uplift in the quality of production and the quality of value that we're sharing across the Microsoft ecosystem as well. So yeah, look forward to that. Matt's doing a few on Power BI in the coming weeks. We've got Chris doing a few on Power Apps as well. And so there's a lot more content to come from far more technical people than myself here at Icotech. We might even grab some third parties in to do some other webinars as well in the future. So if anybody wants to kind of feedback on the gender topics or topics of conversation or topics of these webinars, please do feel free to do so. We'd be more than happy to tailor our content to meet your requirements, I guess. The more people using the Power Platform and the technology that we have available to us in Microsoft 365, the better. So solutions. So I guess our offering at Icotech is broken down to four components or four areas. So we've got solutions, products, consulting, and services. So really, we build everything in the Power Platform. So solutions from ideas hubs to portfolio management solutions, to kind of automotive CRM tools, which is what we're going to show you a bit later on, and a simple use case there. And we do have consultants available to us in terms of business change consultants, PPM consultants, and a whole range of people and experts we can bring in to organizations to make sure the digital transformation is aligned with business objectives and values and that kind of thing. And then we've got a number of products on the App Store, so IcoPlans on the marketplace from Microsoft, so you can download those SaaS products if you're an administrative user of 365. So yeah, that's really our offering. Our specialists in our competencies from Microsoft are in application development, data visualization, and project portfolio management, and we're now proud to announce that we're a gold partner as well. So just due to those competencies and the amount of people we've got in our organization. But as I kind of always say in these openings, we have a number of different kind of specialties in Power Automate, in Teams, SharePoint, Exchange, OneDrive, but the project online, Power Apps, Power BI, and Dynamics 365 is really our specialties. We're growing capability in Power Automate. We'd say we have a baseline foundation experience of Power Automate, but we tend to use it in the background really of the applications that we build, and I think that's kind of where it's designed to be really. So let's move on to the topic of this. So Power Automate system integration, and we talk about system integration really, but we use Power Automate to do that. And for me, Power Automate is the tool that allows us to automate processes and tasks through different applications and different services. So it's all about integrating technologies together and automating workflow. We'll come on to the different types of flows in a minute, but connecting Twitter feeds to SharePoint sites, to Slack channels, to Dropbox, all available within 365 is really the key function really, and the key use case for Power Automate. It's available within Microsoft 365, and just to bring it to life a little bit, we've got a bit of a demo that we'll show you. It's quite simple in reality, but it just brings to life how useful Power Automate can be. Okay. So really, there's a number of different types of flows. There's actually these are the cloud flows, but there's desktop flows as well now. So if you didn't know, you can download Microsoft Power Automate as a desktop application, just like Word, for example, and you have other features that are available in that desktop application. But for this topic, we're specifically talking about the cloud flows that are available in Power Automate. So we've got automated flows, which is what we're going to use today. Which is basically triggered by an event, such as an arrival of an email, or a mention of your company in social media. So as I think I mentioned last week's webinar, you can have a Twitter feed that if your company is mentioned on Twitter, it will send you an email with the comment text description, and even integrate that with your CRM system as well. Then there's instant flow. So really this is about the user starting the flow. So the user saying action this flow, fire this flow, because we have a flow where we create a contact in our system, and that's done by a flow rather than it takes data from another repository, another system, and builds that flow out. But it's normally that click to fire, click to action is the instant flows. And then schedule flow. So these are, as it says there, kind of scheduled to a date and time. And we have a number of these across our client base as well for our snapshot tool. So our snapshot tool is a Power Automate flow, although be it massive, it's got loads of steps, hundreds of steps in it. It fires at 1 o'clock every first day of the month, and it takes a kind of a snapshot of all the data in our PPM solutions and puts it into a repository so that we can do trend analysis over time on that data set, basically. And just to bring that to life a little bit more, we can see how a RAG has changed over time for a project. So let's say that it was red 3 months ago, now it's gone green, and now it's gone back to red again. And when you apply that to portfolios over time, you can see like that maybe projects tend to kind of go red or out of control over Christmas time, really, where people are off more, or summer as well. So you can do that kind of trend analysis by capturing the data in what we term a snapshot, but it's effectively a scheduled Power Automate flow. Actually, if the appetite is there, I could, in our next one of these webinars, if we want to kind of make this a more common topic, we'll deep dive that flow, because it's quite impressive, I think, anyway. So just to bring some scenarios so we can just talk through the potential options of what you could use Flow to do. So one of the scenarios is approvals. So holiday requests, vacation requests, document sign-offs, approving expenses reports. These are all some of the services that we use Power Automate for. Probably more so when you've built your own holiday system as well in SharePoint or in a Power Platform. But yeah, get an acknowledgement of an artifact being of a certain status or approved is quite important. So I'm just going to check this because I'm just monitoring my phone to make sure I'm not getting any messages. So when I show you the demo later, it works. It is, which is great. So the kind of the scenario here is all about approval, and you can apply this to any kind of business process, really, which is the beauty of it. And using Power Automate very quickly builds these approval flows. So the second scenario we've got here is integration with SharePoint. So send an email when a new list item is created. So if you're using a list in SharePoint, you can use Power Automate to send an email to a group of stakeholders. Say if a risk was added to a list, or an action was added to a list, and that action was of a certain department, IT, for example, or HR. Flow could be used then to email everybody in HR the update or the name of that record in the list. Which can be quite useful. So when people win new projects, or a project goes through a stage gate, you can send out an automatic email to say, look, this project is now being approved at the portfolio board, and it's now moved into a different stage. And there's a bit of a celebratory kind of email that goes out to people in one of the clients that we work with. So start an approval when a file is added. So it's not just list items or records, it could be documents. So add a file to an approvals document library, and then Flow can be used to take that file and send it or link it across to the approval chain. So it might go to a project manager, program manager, and then maybe a project sponsor for approval of a business case or a PID or something like that. So yeah, that's kind of the second scenario then, really, of linking Power Automate with SharePoint. So the other thing then as well is that we can get to Teams, and this is really a growth area for Microsoft. So we could do kind of adaptive cards and some clever things here. So if your process in a a sales tool, you can, and you set up a meeting with a potential client, you can use Flow to trigger adaptive cards or conversations in a channel or a team chat as well. So that's quite cool. And you can also trigger the flows from Teams messages as well. So if someone else wants to select a message, you want to share that message with somebody, you can go from Teams to email as well, which gets quite complicated. It's always about finding the right use case. A project risk being added in the Power App might result in a post in the project channel within Teams as well. So those are the type of things that are used most commonly, I feel, from Power Automate. As I said at the top of the call, if there's any questions, any kind of any comments, more than happy to answer any questions that anybody has. But yeah, I'll move on to a bit of a demo then. So I've just put automotive use case. So I want to paint the picture for you. So we had a customer, a small business, because that's why I think it's quite useful to kind of take you through this, came to us and wanted us to do a bit of a proof of concept, really. And that small business was a windscreen fitting company. So they basically just go around the country fitting windscreens for lorries. And the haulage vehicles and that kind of thing. But they were trying to move to a cash kind of business and a B2C business. And they wanted a mini CRM basically that they could engage with their customers. And what we did was we said, look, okay, well, we can build you a Power App, because they were using 365 at the time. And but the requirement from the customer was really to be able to communicate with the customers via text message, because that's where they that's how they communicated, that's how they wanted to communicate. So using Power Automate, we were able to connect with a third-party text messaging service, and today I'm just going to show you briefly how that works in summary. So effectively, this isn't a final product. Obviously, this is a kind of version 0.001 of the app that we put together, and effectively we've got a set of customers here in the system. There's two integrations here in this system, which I'll take you through. One of them doesn't work because we were using a temporary key, and it's with the DVLA, but you could kind of see how it would work in process. And the other one does work, which is the text message service. And I'll just show you how that works, really. So in this use case, this customer had a set of accounts, but this was more about cash customers. So I'm a customer here. I'm a contact of this company, and for kind of this use case, we had to put the phone number into the system, and we had to articulate that this was a direct customer. So I am not part of one of his B2B accounts in this example. Okay, so you can imagine the administrative attendee on the phone is taking a call from a customer to say, I've got a broken windscreen, I want it to be fixed, please. Can I have a quote? So that administrative assistant would put the records of the individual, what the postcode, what they do, in terms of their phone number, onto the system, onto the mini CRM, and then send it off to the manager to be quoted for then. All right. So in this case, then we would effectively create a new quote, and the customer in question would be, let's just pick me, for example. So I'm just going to pick me, H07. Cool. So this, my phone number comes through here, and it says I'm a direct customer. Yeah, so I'm a B2C customer. I'm then going to put a price in here and just say how much, what's the price of the job. I'm going to make it a really expensive one just for fun. There's £1,000 windscreen. So it's a big cost. So my registration, I'm going to put W12 JRM, just to something simple like I remember. So the first flow, effectively, at this point, was that the API would connect with DVLA and it would return the vehicle make, the color, the year of manufacture, and some statuses like the MOT status and expiry, etc. The use case here, and this is a live use case, it's obviously been further developed now, was that the customer would often get, somebody ringing up saying, I've got a Vauxhall Corsa, when actually they had a Vauxhall Astra, or they had, another service. So yeah, so that was one of his things he wanted to, and the model as well. So what year is it manufactured? And they would sometimes say it's a 2016, but actually it was manufactured 2015. Those types of things. So and he'd arrive on site with the wrong glass. Basically, was his problem. So effectively now we've got this job's being quoted, and they wanted to have acceptance of this job being sent to the attendee. So you have to trust me that I can join from, I'll probably even show you on the camera as well. That effectively I've got a text message now on my phone from this service. So this service is now, if I'm a user, I've now got a service from a text message from the system that says I need to be able to accept the quote, basically. So I could click on the link there, and it takes me to a page, and this is a Microsoft 365 form. So this is no custom development. This is all available in Microsoft 365, nothing crazy. Of course, it doesn't look perfect at the moment. It's just a proof of concept in the early stages of this project. But effectively, what it's saying to me here is, can I put in the code of the job, and can I tell the app when I want that job to be scheduled for? Because again, this kind of use case, the company that we're working for here was struggling to get confirmation of when the job was needed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my answer in here, and just for validation, the rule that didn't work well that we changed in the end, was that I am entering currently my job number, my job reference number. But one of the improvements we made in the second iteration of this was we asked the user to enter their vehicle registration number as a validation that which kind of job this request was for. I'm then going to go and pick here, so it now gives me a calendar, and I'm able to select the date I want this job to be done. Okay, so I'm now going to put the Monday, the 22nd of March. I don't know if you can see it. I know Teams is a bit funny, but hopefully you can. If not, trust me, it's Monday 22nd of March. There we go. I'm just going to double check the numbers match, and I'm going to submit it. So it says, thanks for submitting the job. And anybody and any device anywhere in the world can use that service in Forms. It's a free service, basically. And now what should happen, fingers crossed, we did test it earlier, I promise, is that there we go. There's the requested date here, comes through to the system, and says that this job has been requested to be completed on the 22nd of March. All right, so that is a really kind of simple, thin slice, as we call it in our development processes, of data going from the Power Platform application we've got here and moving into a third-party product like, and that, just for information, that third-party product is called Twilio. Twilio, Twilio. And that's a text message service that anybody can subscribe to or sign up to. Obviously, you have to pay for it, but it's not that expensive. And it allows you to communicate with your customers. And Power Automate is driving those two connections there. So that's just a really, really simple use case. Of course, it's now developed to a point that payments on the end of it, the scheduled dates. The next kind of process that we developed in here was the completed date. So whilst the requested date is the 22nd, it may be that the attendant has to go back and speak to the person and the customer and say, sorry, we can't come on the 22nd. We've got to come on the 23rd. Is that okay? And then there was a job completion status then, which said, and another text would go out and say, are you happy that the job's been completed? Yes. And then the payment process would kick in from that point onwards as well. So yeah, that's just a little example of the use case of how it works. What I'll try and do now is go into Flow and just show you some of the flows that were in the background then running around there. So where's the one shared with me? Here we go. Did he share it with me? That's the question. Just double check. So the earlier on as well, just while I find it, There we go. So the different types of flows I was talking about earlier, these are cloud flows, and therefore you can see the different types of power the flows you create. You can create them off a template, or you can do ones, the instant fire ones, automated schedule flows, and then desktop flows as well, which have got more functionality on a desktop machine. I'm just going to quickly find that business process flow. Double check. But yeah, so I just wanted to really show, and as I said at the top of the call, it's not going to take an awful lot of time. That's not it. I don't think he's actually shared with me. Apologies, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, so you use Power Automate to connect the different systems together. So I'm really sorry about that. It's super annoying. He hasn't shared that with me. I did ask him to earlier on, Matt. I'll have to give him a bit of a kick later. But yeah, so that's just a really simple example of how you can use Power Automate to connect two different systems together, and a simple use case to bring that to life, really. Is there any questions on any of that, or any kind of thoughts, any questions on what else you could do if you've got a specific use case that you want me to think about and potentially address? Yeah, guest users through Power Automate is quite difficult, actually, but it depends as well how they're accessing the app. I would probably go to portals for that one, Sam. It's a great question. It's a great challenge. So portals is that kind of external facing website effectively in the Power Platform, and that user can um, request or initiate certain flows as a guest user effectively. But if they are a Microsoft 365 user themselves, and you've got two organizations that are kind of federated to get together, i.e. they're set up as a whitelist or as an actual Office 365 guest user, then you can share those permissions as well. So it depends on the terminology of guest. If they are really like an end user, like anybody in the world, then portals would be the best way to go. But if they are a company that you collaborate with, then having a more of a guest setup with your 365 environment would be the best way to go. Just kind of toying with the idea of keeping these going on a more kind of repetitive basis, and keep developing a flow. When Chris gets some time, we'd like to kind of take you guys through a journey of creating a simple flow with Chris's help, and then developing it month on month through a series of webinars. We'd like to kind of, because it is more complicated than most of the things that we do, really. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that. Just wanted to show you a quick example. Hopefully that use case just brings it to life a little bit of what you could do. If you want to know the details of how, and you want some help with that, as I said, please just put your email in the chat window, or just drop me an email at my email address, and I'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction with a member of my team here at Icotech. But yes, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for joining. Hopefully I've just opened or just shared some value with you for what Power Automate can do. And thank you very much for your time today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch up very soon. Thank you so much.